The original Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. And because of this, I was completely heartbroken when we finally got Luigi's Mansion 2 on the 3DS, and I came away from it feeling a bit disappointed. Luigi's Mansion 2 took a lot of what I loved about the first game and stripped it away. However, after getting a more extensive look at Luigi's Mansion 3 at E3 this year, I can confidently say that this entry in the series seems to be a worthy follow-up to one of the most memorable gaming experiences I ever had when I was a kid. At the initial reveal of Luigi's Mansion 3 back in September 2018, I was super excited to see that the series was getting another entry, but at the same time, once we saw gameplay, I remember thinking, oh no, it looks like Luigi's Mansion 2. The lighting looked flat, and I was disappointed to see only one type of ghost in the entire trailer. I was honestly nervous to get our next glimpse of the game because I was so afraid of being let down a second time. My biggest complaints with Luigi's Mansion 2 were the mission-based structure, the lack of portrait ghosts and overuse of generic ghosts, and to an extent the shift in art style. When the latest trailer for Luigi's Mansion 3 began, I immediately noticed how much better the game looks now when compared to the first trailer. The developers have clearly polished up the visuals, and now everything looks more on par with other Switch games like Mario Odyssey. The lighting looks so much more dynamic now when compared to how flat the environments looked in the first trailer. In that first trailer, Luigi's Mansion 3 almost looked like an HD port of a 3DS game. Even this splash screen featuring the logo in both trailers has been revamped. The use of vibrant colors while still maintaining the same spooky atmosphere looks a lot better when compared to this screen from the old trailer, and represents the overall style of the game more accurately. Visuals aside, the main reason why I wanted to talk about my excitement for this game is that during Nintendo Treehouse, one of the game's directors said that they're listening to the criticism that Luigi's Mansion 2 received, and they are using what they learned to make Luigi's Mansion 3 be an experience that is closer to what fans of the first game want. And after seeing more gameplay and hearing the director talk more about development of the game, I can confidently say that they are doing a good job of assuring that. The director said that the team at Next Level Games wanted to bring back elements from Luigi's Mansion 1. When saying this, he specifically mentioned the structure of the story mode, meaning it won't be mission-based like Luigi's Mansion 2 was, and the return of ghosts that actually have personality and dialogue, also known as portrait ghosts. The return to a more open-ended style of exploration in the vein of the first game has me super excited because the feeling of getting lost in a haunted mansion is a big part of what made the first game feel so memorable, and also stays true to the source of its inspiration being classic survival horror games like Resident Evil. Now, obviously, comparing Luigi's Mansion to Resident Evil might sound ridiculous today, but back in 2001, a game starring Luigi exploring a spooky mansion kind of seemed like a family-friendly version of the PS1 classic. At least, it did in structure. I don't think that people are going to be playing Luigi's Mansion 3 expecting to get scared, but I'm not gonna lie, this part kind of caught me off guard.
Include that in this one as well.
The mission structure of Dark Moon really ruined the pacing of that game and made exploration feel a lot less fulfilling because every time you reached a mission's objective, you were warped out of the mansion and had to backtrack to the point you left off at. There were also missions that were straight up padding to extend the total playtime, like that last mission in Gloomy Manor where you had to suck up 48 spiderwebs in order to advance. Although Dark Moon was a bit of a letdown in many ways, there were some additions that it made that I'm happy to see returning and built upon in Luigi's Mansion 3. New gameplay mechanics like the strobe light that Luigi uses to flash and blind enemies, and the ability to press the A button while capturing a ghost to unleash a more powerful suck, I guess you can call it. Oh, maybe that's why girls find Luigi to be an appealing protagonist. But the latter seems to have been replaced by this new slam move featured in gameplay at E3. I even thought that uncovering hidden objects with the Dark Light device was fun in Luigi's Mansion 2, so I was very happy to see these mechanics returning because it does add a bit more depth to the gameplay and opens up the possibility for more unique puzzles. And in addition to that, there are new moves that Luigi can pull off, like the slam ability that allows Luigi to slam ghosts and objects into each other. This move looks like it'll be really useful and satisfying to use when Luigi is surrounded by enemies. They also added the suction shot, which lets Luigi fire a suction cup and allows him to do things like remove an enemy's shield in the castle area. This looks like it's going to be a lot more fun than waiting around for an enemy to lower their guard and then get them with the strobe light like you had to do in Dark Moon. And finally there's the burst, which releases a gust of air around Luigi that can move enemies and objects. It even gives him the ability to jump, which is a first for the series. The jump is short and it doesn't seem like you can move in midair, but if you can, it could make for some interesting platforming segments. Another addition to Luigi's Mansion 3 is Luigi. This gelatinous doppelganger is used to solve puzzles that require his unique abilities, but what's really cool about Luigi is that he allows for a second player to join you and play through the entire story mode in co-op multiplayer. This feature was actually introduced in the 3DS remake of the original Luigi's Mansion, and it's really cool to see that they were kind of testing this mode out on the 3DS. It almost makes the Luigi's Mansion remake feel like some sort of weird half-step beta between Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3. The Scare Scraper mode from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is also making a return for Luigi's Mansion 3. I enjoyed this mode, and I found it to be a fun distraction from the single-player missions in Dark Moon, but it did get kind of repetitive after a while. And even though the floors were randomly generated and supposed to feel different every time you play them, everything still felt pretty samey due to the lack of variety in room design. Next Level Games has addressed this issue in the revamped version of Scare Scraper, and it looks like they have done a pretty good job. The game director present at Nintendo Treehouse during this segment said that the team wanted the procedurally generated program that creates each floor to not feel as random as it did in Dark Moon. They want the maps to feel like real hotels, and one way that they did this is by adding hallways to connect all of the rooms instead of having doors that lead directly from room to room. This sounds like a very small change, but when watching the footage, it really did make each floor feel like a believable part of a hotel and not just a cluster of random rooms all stuck together. The team also added balconies that lead outside so that the player knows when they've reached the boundaries of that floor, which honestly makes sense for a hotel to have, and again makes the environment feel more authentic. And they have addressed the issue of Scare Scraper mode getting a bit repetitive by including different gimmicks on each floor. The ones shown at E3 were clearing out ghosts, rescuing toads, and collecting coins, but the game's director said that there were around 8 or 9 objectives total, so it's nice to see a bit more variety within this mode. Moving on from multiplayer, one thing that I actually like about Dark Moon was the variety of locations in the game. For those who don't know, there were 5 mansions in total to explore in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. However, that combined with the mission-based structure of the game only increased the feeling of segmentation that made a lot of fans of the first game dislike this entry in the series. In order to address this issue while still offering variety in level design, Next Level Games has Luigi's Mansion 3 set in a hotel where each floor has a different theme. I absolutely love this approach because it is giving us the best of both worlds in terms of variety, while also making the game a cohesive experience as opposed to making it feel more segmented like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I can't wait to see what other themed floors there are in this new haunted hotel setting. The movie production studio floor that was shown off during Nintendo Treehouse looked so fun and was packed with tons of little details and puzzles to solve. After seeing such a unique theme like this, I feel like the possibilities for what other types of floors we can see are endless. We get a glimpse of other areas in the trailer, like this grassy room that just looks really bizarre, imaginative, and honestly out of place for a hotel, but that's exactly what I like about this wacky hotel approach. The way things are looking now, I don't think we have to worry about environments feeling uninspired and everything looking the same, like, well, an actual hotel. If a medieval castle is possible, imagine what other environments we could get. I think that a haunted museum could be a really interesting setting. Exhibits could come to life after being possessed by ghosts, and there could be big boss fights with a mammoth or a huge T-Rex skeleton, or Ben Stiller. Also, I'm kind of wondering if the hotel will change layouts throughout the game, because when we see the hotel at the beginning of this trailer, it looks completely different and smaller compared to when we see a full shot of it with the game's title. And with one area of the hotel literally being a castle with an outdoor coliseum, I am sure that there is some kind of ghost magic at play in making these locations actually fit into a hotel. But I really do believe that we can look forward to seeing some insane environments in this game. The possibilities are endless based on what we've seen so far. Also, it's worth noting that there are 17 buttons inside the elevator that takes Luigi to different floors, so I think that pretty much confirms that we'll see at least 17 unique areas. The game's director said that there will be a couple dozen portrait ghosts featured in the game, which means 24, but he didn't really sound like he was being exact, and this very well could have been just a rough estimate. The original Luigi's Mansion had 23 portrait ghosts, and that game could be completed in roughly 5 to 6 hours, sometimes even less than that if you know what you're doing. This has me wondering if the number of 24 portrait ghosts being in Luigi's Mansion 3 is actually accurate, and if it is, will each portrait ghost have its own area in the game, and will we actually be getting more than 17 areas that were hinted at by the buttons on the elevator? If not, my other theory is that maybe there are 17 main floors, but within those floors there are smaller sub-areas that certain portrait ghosts reside in. For example, in the castle area, maybe there's a high tower where a princess ghost lives, and Luigi has to go complete side quests for her, like maybe finding her a worthy ghost knight or something like that. I think I would actually like this idea of sub-areas within floors more because it would make the environments feel more lived in and believable, rather than each floor just having one portrait ghost and the rest being generic ghosts. On the topic of portrait ghosts, I am so happy to see that they're back. I can't say it enough. They added so much charm to the first Luigi's Mansion, and now with the super expressive animation and increased amount of interaction that Luigi has with the portrait ghosts, like what we see with Morty, the movie director, Next Level Games is turning the charm up to 11 in this game. Even the opening scene with the whole cast of characters on their way to the hotel is just overflowing with personality in every shot, right down to Mario getting subtly rejected by Peach. It's beautiful. This game just seems so full of character already, and there's only more to come. What we saw at E3 is such a small sample of this game, but I feel like it really set the bar high for people's expectations going into this title, and I truly believe that Next Level Games is going to deliver this time. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see out of Luigi's Mansion 3. I am always down for discussion about this series. If you like this video and want to see more like it, consider subscribing because it lets me know if I should keep making content like this. If you couldn't tell from this video, I am very excited about this game and I would love to continue covering it as more info comes out. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm up to, consider following me on Twitter at SuperSamBams, and check me out on Twitch where I play games that I want to make videos about in the future. Links are in the description for all of that stuff. Until next time, take care.